is where the book Enlightened Queen, He's Not Your Man, was born from.
Yep.
So to answer your question, when I step into a home and I see
Hello and welcome, book lovers. You are tuned in for the podcast of TRU, aka the Review Universe, your go-to podcast for insightful conversation with the remarkable authors. Today we have a special guest joining with us, Galeema Davids, a talented author behind the book Enlightened Queen. Welcome, Galeema ma'am.
hello, it's so lovely to be here with you.
Yes, ma'am. So the first question is that what inspired you to write this book, The Enlightened Queen?
Okay, the book's title is Enlightened Queen, He's Not Your Man.
Yep.
And it's a roadmap for women who are looking to get married, who would like to have a healthy relationship. And so it guides them towards that, to reaching that goal.
Yeah. As we have seen that you have written books like Enlightened Wife, Stay Soft and Strong, Shadowed Whisper, all also. So is that any pattern or something that we can look
Yes,
for?
absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, there is a pattern.
Yes,
Absolutely,
ma'am.
there's a pattern. So the books are overall about your relationship with yourself, first and foremost, and nurturing a healthy relationship with yourself, and then having a strong relationship with God to anchor you in that relationship with yourself. Because as human beings, we need a higher kind of support, a higher kind of um, anchoring. We're not enough for ourselves. Because sometimes we disappoint ourselves, sometimes we let ourselves down. So that's where our relationship with God comes in. Because God is consistent in His love and in
Yes.
His mercy and in His care for us. So we nurture that relationship, and then after nurturing those two important relationships, the relationship with the self and then the relationship with God, then we look at the relationship with a potential partner, and that's what all my books are alluding towards. That soft and strong, the enlightened wife, Shattered Whispers as well, even though Shattered Whispers is more a poetry collection. So it's
Yes.
not so much about looking at the relationship, but all the other books are centered around looking at the relationship with the self, with God, and then with a potential spouse.
Yes, ma'am. So the following question will be about the enlightened wife. That I have seen a sentence that when a girl married, a wife is born. So I'm curious to know that what are your point of view on this topic?
Okay.
Yep.
Wow, that's an amazing question. I'm glad you asked that question.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, So, in my journey personally, it wasn't an easy awakening into being a wife. Marriage it wasn't something easy to navigate. So I had to do research. I had to get myself comfortable in the position of being a wife, and I realized it was a similar situation for other women. I wasn't alone in feeling unfamiliar with what to do and how to be, and what was happening with regards to my husband and why he was reacting a certain way. All of these things, it left a lot of question marks. And I discovered that other women were also having a lot of question marks, like they didn't know what to do. Many women just felt like they were thrown into the deep end of the ocean, being a new wife, and they didn't know what was happening with this man that was in front of them. They didn't understand their husbands. So it was a similar journey for many other women. And so that's where that sentence comes from. When a woman gets married, when a girl gets married, a wife is born. It's a completely new identity that you are taking on. It's not something that you are familiar with. It's a different role that you are stepping into. It's a different identity. It's new responsibilities, and we need to look at that and acknowledge that. Um, so that's where that comes from. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Just for the curiosity, I'm just asking this question that what are the thought process when you just go to someone else's house for the first time as a wife? What are the thoughts at that time in your mind as a girl?
Okay. Um, at the moment, I must also tell you that I'm divorced.
Yep.
So I'm not a wife any longer, and that is also a new journey that I'm embracing and I'm learning about. And that is where the book Enlightened Queen, He's Not Your Man, was born from.
Yep.
So to answer your question, when I step into a home and I see I'm laughing because it's almost as if I'm coming from a completely different world sometimes and I'm stepping into another world,
Yep.
you know, because oftentimes, I've experienced that I have an understanding of men that because of the books that I've written and because of the research that I've done, I have an understanding of men and of their world that many women do not have. And so sometimes I would step into a home and I can kind of gauge what's happening inside the man, inside his head, and other women around would be oblivious of that. They would not, they would just be going about their day and not knowing really what's happening in the world of a man because it's a different world. A world of a woman and a world of a man is very different.
Yep.
So my experience would be I would sometimes want to say something, but sometimes I would say something, sometimes I wouldn't. I would have to gauge the situation and see if it's the right time to say something in a kind or a helpful manner, you know. But so what I'm trying to say is sometimes we just live in different worlds. What if we don't delve into each other's worlds, we will never know what's happening in the other world, you know, in the man's world, and the man will never know what's happening in the woman's world.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's new to know that you are moving forward towards your own new life. The thing I'm going to ask another question is that were there any challenges that you faced while writing this book? That means the thought process or something. Is this a biography or something?
No, it's not. It's not a biography, but there are pieces of
Yep.
my own journey that I've included in the book. There are always pieces of myself in my work, in my books, and there are also many pieces of other women. So it's a kind of merging of the women around me, and also some of the men whose worlds I get to have a view into
Yep.
through other women. So it's a merging of my world, of my experiences, and other women's as well.
Yep. So again, the next question will be about educational background. That what are your educational qualification as you are a writer? Did you have already studied on this section of the studies?
I studied linguistics and communication studies
Yep.
at university in South Africa. So I've got an MA in linguistics and communication studies. I initially I thought I would be a journalist.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think writing has always been in my bones, in my blood. It's always been something I've been doing since really, really small. And so, yeah, it seemed like this was the path for me to be an author.
Yep, that's great, ma'am. I just wanna know, as my team has notified me that you are from UK, so that I want to know that are you born in UK?
No, I'm born in South Africa, and at the moment I'm living in Ireland.
Yep, Ireland. Yeah, that's
Yes.
great. What influenced you to write this book? Any author or book or something that you get inspired with?
It's I think my journey as a wife, I think it started with that. Navigating relationships, learning about myself, being comfortable with myself as a woman, um, and then seeing the journey being mirrored back to me um, with other women around me, through other women around me. So other women, so many other women are my inspiration, um, and that's what gets me writing.
Yes. Our next question will be that did you have any particular upcoming projects in future?
I've got another book that I'm busy writing. It's called At Home with Allah.
Yep.
So Allah is our God, the Almighty, the ultimate source of love for us Muslims. So this is the book I'm busy writing at the moment, At Home with Allah. And it's basically what we've been speaking about, the relationship with the self, the relationship with Allah, with God, and then venturing out further and getting into relationships with other people and a potential spouse. So that's what it's all about.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have another question from your another book, Shadowed Whisper. Do you wanna just talk about that more?
Shattered Whispers is kind of on the side. I feel like all these books are my little children. I have four children of my own, and then I feel like these books are of my other children. But Shattered Whispers is the one on the side, and I don't give Shattered Whispers much attention. Shattered Whispers was my very first book, and the reason I really published that was just to finish off something that I had started or I had the intention to start long, long ago.
Yep.
Shattered Whispers is actually the work that I had written. I think I was a teenager when I started writing poetry. It's a collection of poetry, and it's a perspective also on life and on relationships, on death, on hope, on God. So it's different to my other books, as I've said before. It's a collection of poetry, and it helps us understand the world that we're living in.
Yep. So I just wanna ask that are you from more on poetry side or the story sides?
It's not stories, it's nonfiction, so
Yep.
it's more like a self-help manual.
Yep.
My work generally, it's tools, it's new perspectives, it's information as well in understanding male and female dynamics, in understanding the self and the relationship with God. So it's a lot of tools, a lot of practical advice. And then also, I think just the way that I write, I've been told that it's poetic overall. It's got a flow of poetry in it, so it's in between that.
Yes. Yes. That's great to know, ma'am. I think the other question will be that what are the message that you hope that the readers or the listeners who are just listening or watching us on YouTube or Instagram should take the message from the book The Enlightened Queen.
The message I would hope, and I've gotten some feedback, and so I think it's successful that women get the message that they are um, that pillar of strength that they need. Often we look to men for that. Many women not knowing any better or just following the kind of story or the fairy tale that we grew up with, we look to men as our strength, as a form of strength for us, as a form of comfort, of love. I would hope that through my work, women realize that they have all the strength and all those qualities and those things that they're looking for in men. They have it within themselves. And that's not to say that we don't need men. It's just that when you build that within yourself first, you're much more able to invite it and to be open to it from a healthy man. You're able to appreciate it more from the right man. So, my hope is that my work helps women see that they have the strength within, and I hope that the books are also giving them the tools to awaken the strength that they have within. And then also a very, very important part of that, and this is what I speak about more in At Home with Allah, is that you cannot eliminate God from that, because that's where the weakness comes in. So, in order for us to stay strong and healthy and solid, we need to realize that we need God in the equation.
Yep.
And that's ultimately where our source of strength comes from.
Yep, that's great words from you, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question that in today's generation, if we say, as I am in early 20s of my life, so I just want to ask that is getting married this time is okay, or we should wait for a long time? As your perspective, what are your point of view on this?
Okay. I think it differs person to person. But overall, I think it's good to wait and to learn. If you haven't yet got that knowledge about yourself, and if you haven't yet gotten the emotional awareness and the emotional capacity and the abilities to cope, then it's better to wait and to build that in yourself first. To build that self awareness, self acceptance, um, the self knowledge, all of that stuff. You need to first be building it in yourself. So if you haven't yet reached a point where you are comfortable with yourself, then rather wait and nurture and grow that relationship with yourself first. Don't be in a hurry.
Yep.
You're not missing out on anything. Just enjoy the time that you have with yourself.
Yep.
And when the time comes, when you are ready, um, it will happen naturally, I think. Naturally somebody will come into your life and it will be the right person.
Yes, ma'am, that's great words coming from you. I think I want one more advice just for our female listeners, girls or women who are watching this podcast, that if they got married in their early 20s or 25, 24 at this point of the age, what should they do in order to cope up with that relationship?
Okay. I'm glad you asked that question because in the books, I also make the distinction because there's a difference between the woman who is not yet married, like I said now, wait, versus the woman who is married, because I value marriage, and marriage is such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful entity, and it's so amazing how a marriage can grow and flourish with the right tools and the right mindset. So for the woman who is married now, and perhaps she's young and perhaps she's struggling, I want to tell her that there's so much promise and possibility down the line. If you just have the right tools, if you just open up a book now, open up your mind now, and open up yourself to change. It starts with one person, and you are holding the light, you are holding the power to change. And when you change, everything around you changes. Your environment changes, the people around you changes, and it's so amazing how much power and potential we have to influence change around us. So that's what I would like to say to the new wife in a marriage, perhaps that's struggling.
That's great. That's great advice from you, ma'am. So with this question, I think we are gonna end this podcast, as we are not making that kind of lengthy podcast. So one more time, if you want to say about Enlightened Queen, so that the viewers or listeners should read this. Why this they should read this book? You should.
Okay, so this book I can break it down into three different categories for three different women. It's for the woman who wants to get married, but she's not sure about who she should marry or if this man she's
Yes.
got her hopes on is worth her time, worth her effort, worth her attention. So it's for that woman. And then it's for the woman who is in a marriage, but she's struggling because her husband is not the way that she would like him to be, or he's not doing the things that she would like him to do. It's for that woman. And then it's also for the woman who is navigating divorce and she's finding it really hard because divorce can be a really hard thing to get through. So it's for that woman as well. It just gives her the support, it gives her the strength, it tells her who she is, it reminds her about who she is. It's for that woman as well. So it's for any woman looking to grow. Even if it's not through a relationship, you just want to learn about yourself and understand yourself as a woman, as a beautiful creation of God. It's for you as well.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. With this question, we will end this podcast. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time. And I will suggest to all the listeners and viewers to please read this book. And I think you can gift it to your loved ones also, as my opinion. And I think
Yes.
ma'am will approve this. Uh,
Yes.
yes, ma'am. So thank you so much,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That's nice meeting you. I will look forward to meet
That's what.
when you will release your new book. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much for
Thank thank you
having
so
me
much, ma'am.
and for taking your time.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So,
Thank you.
yep, we will end this podcast here. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time.
Thank you, Anuj.
Bye bye.